Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Josie and I'm a mom to 3 young kids who recently moved to the Silver Coast area of Portugal. This channel focuses on helping families gather more information about this area in hopes that it might be the perfect location for you. So this video is going to be slightly different than all my other videos. I am going to list off 5 reasons why Caldas or the Silver Coast area might not be the best for you. And here we go. So number 1 is the weather. Okay, so I'm sure you've seen my other videos, or if you haven't, you can go back and see it. I rave about the weather here. The weather has been amazing for me. I came from the Washington, D.C. area in the United States, so I am used to living in 4 seasons. So if you are someone that's coming from maybe the southern states like Florida, Texas, California, or even elsewhere that's tropical in an area that may never have seen snow, this area may not be the best for you, because although I love it and I find it a very mild, pleasant weather, as in it hasn't gone below, I believe, 45 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put the Celsius below, I don't know. And then so far it hasn't gone above like 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So for me, it's perfect. And my favorite weather is actually the fall. I love like that crisp air, the fall, like seasonal outfits. I mean, I'm that typical all-American girl that wears like the boots and has my Starbucks. So like, go ahead and judge me all you want, but that's my favorite season. So to come to an area where typically in the summertime it doesn't get too hot, it's usually in the 70s, I find to be perfect for me. Now, if you're someone that enjoys tropical weather, you're gonna wanna look south. You're gonna wanna look elsewhere in the Algarves or in just southern Portugal, because it tends to be warmer there. But for here, it may not be the best for you, or it may be, I don't know. All right, so number 2, bureaucracy. Okay, so if you follow any online forums, you already know that Portugal and bureaucracy don't go hand in hand. However, and I'm just going to specifically talk about the Caldas da Rainha area, there may be other areas in the Silver Coast that are just better than here, to be honest. But if you're someone that patience and your name doesn't go well together, you may not like it here. In fact, I have talked to other people that relocated from other areas of Portugal to specifically the Caldas da Rainha area, and have said that it takes 10 times longer than other areas to do any sort of paperwork, especially getting your numero de utente. Now, I've heard of other people in like Lorena or elsewhere that were able to just walk right in after getting off their flight pretty much and obtain all their paperwork that they needed within a day or 2. It doesn't happen here. I'm going to be honest with you. For instance, now CEF is a completely different situation, but I'm just going to talk about my numero de utente, which you're supposed to get through your Centro Saúde wherever you live. And I think I was a rare case, as in I got mine quicker than others. I applied, I sent all my paperwork in the beginning of December, and I just got my numero de utente, my whole family. They just issued it at the beginning of February. So that was a solid 2 months of me from when I applied for everything to when I actually received it. And I only got my number, I only found out that I had my number because I went to the vaccination center on open house, and they had told me, because I went in fully thinking I did not have my numero de utente and I was still waiting on it. They looked up our information and they're like, oh, you actually have numbers. And I should also note that some people get temporary numbers and some people get permanent numbers. So I asked them, is this a permanent number or is this a temporary number? Because if they issued a temporary number, it's actually like the first step. Then you have to go and get it changed over to a permanent number. So that's something I didn't want to deal with, but they told me it was a permanent number. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Then someone else had mentioned it might be a temporary number, and the only way you can know if it's a permanent number is if you're able to log into the SNS24 website. So I ran home and I logged in, and I'm like praying, like you saw like the beads of sweat coming down my forehead, because I was just like, having anxiety, like, oh, I don't want to like have to deal with like obtaining changing over my temporary number to a permanent number. Anyway, I was able to log in, and I'm telling you, I was so thrilled because at that moment, I then realized I can go and apply for my driver's license exchange, because you can't do that until you have a numero utent. So I was getting really concerned that all my paperwork that I had apostilled and everything from when I lived in America for the driver's license exchange was going to be invalid anymore, because there is an expiration date, I believe, of 1 year, and I was coming close to it. So I was just so thrilled. But I know of people that have waited 5 months from when they applied to when they received it, if not longer. So this is just an area that things work super slow. And for you who may not have the patience, it might not be the best situation for you, because you will be very, very frustrated, and it's a pain. And every day you just kind of have to breathe and think positive, because that's all you can do sometimes. Okay, so number 3, if you are someone that wants to be carless, so in other words, not have a car and rely solely on public transportation, I will say you can live in the center of Caldas without a car. However, it's not very ideal. As in, you know, when you're thinking of Lisbon or the bigger cities, or if you're just thinking carless in general, you think, okay, I got the metro, I have the bus, I have taxis and Ubers. Okay, so yes, you have the bus, you have a train, and it does work. You have a timetable and everything. There's even a smaller bus that takes you around inside the city. And although you are able to rely on it, I would personally say it's not really reliable. As in, okay, and maybe it's just me. I'm just gonna say from my own personal experience. Let's just say I wanna have dinner with a friend or whatever, and then I wanna go home afterwards. And let's say I don't live in the city center and I live on the outskirts. I'm gonna have to rely on that bus. And let's just say it's a Sunday and they only have like 2 or 3 times where they take you around, if they take you around on Sundays. I feel like they do, but I haven't relied on it, so I don't know 100%. You know, the next thought process is, okay, I don't want to wait until like 10 o'clock for the bus and whatever. So you think, okay, let's get a taxi or let's get an Uber or something. Well, one, Uber is non-existent here. I have taken Uber once here, to go from Caldas to Foz so I can go to the beach. And after that, there were no Ubers around, so I had no way to get home. Luckily, we had a car at that time, so my husband was able to pick me up. But if we didn't, I would then have to figure out the bus system and all that stuff. And given if you're relying heavily on just relying on the public system, you probably already memorized the timetables and all that stuff. But for me, it was so hard. So there was no Uber. There was another time where we did take another Uber to our children's school. And this is actually the first time that we took Uber. So we just thought, okay, we'll just Uber back. Well, there was no Uber, like I was mentioning before. And we had to ask the school for a number of a taxi. So we got that number, and luckily he was able to take us back. And it wasn't that expensive. I think it was like €5 to take us back. But it's not like taxis are driving around freely. So you're gonna have to get a number of a taxi driver and just store it in your phone. So it's just a little bit more of a challenge being carless even in Caldas itself. If you want to live on the outskirts or in a neighboring town, I mean, you can rely on the Rita Expressão, but I believe that's the only thing that you can rely on here. And even that, like I said, it doesn't go to every town. So you're gonna have to be very selective in which towns you live in if you want to be carless. And you can't really walk to most towns, even though it might be a 5-6 minute drive. I've actually mapped it out walking wise, and it takes like 45 minutes to an hour. So it's actually not the best if you want to be carless. And I'm gonna be honest with you about that. So number 4, if you like nightlife, if you're young, you're single, I mean, even if you're older, right? If you just enjoy nightlife, It's not here. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's not here. I mean, that's not something that my family and I were looking for. We are old. Well, I feel old, and at like 9 o'clock, I'm like in my PJs already. So I am not the person to be like, I need nightlife. No, nightlife to me, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you ask me to go out to a restaurant, I'm gonna be there with you because I enjoy eating. But if you're like, hey, where are the bars? Where can we go clubbing or dancing or something? It's not here. So if you enjoy nightlife, just know that Caldas and most of the neighboring towns, everything pretty much shuts down around 11 o'clock. And the things that stay open are usually like, you know, there might be like a couple bars that stay open. Like restaurants will stay open. But if you're looking to dance or, you know, enjoy loud music or anything like that, it's generally not here. I'm thinking maybe San Martino would have it, but from what I heard, I don't think that they have nightlife too. They might, but I'm not 100% sure. All I know is when we drive around at like 10 o'clock, if we're up and driving around that time, usually everything's closed. And it could also be due to COVID, but from what I gather from other people, it seems like everything pretty much is quiet. Again, that's something that I enjoy, you may not enjoy. So number 5, international schools. So let's say everything else is not a big issue for you, but you're still looking to live in this area and you want your children to go to international schools. It's not here. I'm gonna be honest with you. The closest, I believe, is one that is international in Torres Vedras, but it's not really international. It's actually a private Portuguese school. So if you're someone that wants strictly an international school, it's not going to be here. I don't even know the closest one other than that, like a real one. It'll be in the bigger cities like Porto. You may have one in Sintra, but you probably don't want to drive like 45 minutes a day one way for that, but that might be for you. I don't know. I'm just telling you. If you're looking for international, it's not here. If you're looking for an English curriculum, the only one that I'm aware of is BGA, which I'll link my last video below with when I interviewed the CEO and founder of BGA, and that's Brave Generation Academy. They have a hub in Caldas. So that's the only one that I'm aware of that is a strictly English curriculum. So I hope I didn't deter you guys from living here, but I wanted to give you guys realistic expectations. If that is something that is on your wants and need list, I wanted to make it clear to you guys that although I and others personally love the Silver Coast area, it might not be the best fit for you if you need something on that top 5 list that I just created. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm sorry it was kind of a short one. We're in the midst of moving right now, so I will create another video on that. But I hope to see you guys in the next video. Ciao!